Imagine waking up on a Tuesday morning with nowhere to be. No alarm, no commute, no manager, no meetings, no countdown to the weekend because every day is the weekend. You're 33 years old. You have enough money invested that you never have to work again. And the rest of your life is entirely yours. That's not a fantasy. There are thousands of people living exactly that life right now. They found a path, they followed it, and they got out. But here's what they don't put in the blog posts, and the YouTube videos, and the finance podcasts. Getting there cost them their entire 20s. And some of them aren't sure it was worth it. The movement is called FIRE. Financial Independence Retire Early. And before you switch off thinking this is a video about spreadsheets, stay with me. Because the maths behind this is genuinely simpler than you think. The basic principle works like this. If you can save and invest enough money that your annual returns cover your living expenses, you never need to earn another dollar again. Your money works for you. Forever. The number most FIRE followers aim for is called the 25x rule. Take your annual living expenses, multiply them by 25, and that's your FIRE number. The amount you need invested to retire. So if you live on $30,000 a year, you need $750,000 invested. If you live on $50,000, you need $1.25 million. Those numbers sound enormous. But here's where it gets interesting. If you're in your 20s right now, earning a modest salary, and you save aggressively, you can hit those numbers by your early 30s. Not by winning the lottery, not by starting a tech company, just by being brutally disciplined for about a decade. Thousands of ordinary people have done it. Teachers, nurses, office workers, people on average salaries who just decided the trade-off was worth it. So what's the trade-off? Here's what retiring in your early 30s actually looks like in practice. You need to save between 50 and 70% of your income every month for roughly a decade. Let that number sit for a second. 50 to 70%. That means if you earn $3,000 a month after tax, you are living on between $900 and $1,500 every single month for 10 years, no holidays. Or if you do travel, you camp, you couch surf, you find the cheapest possible version of everything. No new car. You drive whatever gets you from A to B. No keeping up with friends who are upgrading their apartments, buying new clothes, going out every weekend. You become the person who always says no. The friend who doesn't come to the dinner because it's too expensive. The person who brings lunch to work every single day while everyone else goes out. And here's the part nobody warns you about. Your 20s are the decade when your social life is most alive. When friendships form most naturally. When people are most open to new experiences and new connections. FIRE asks you to opt out of most of that. Not forever, but for the decade when it matters most. The question is, what are you actually giving up? There's a reason psychologists and neuroscientists keep coming back to your 20s as the most formative decade of your life. Your brain's prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for identity, decision-making, and understanding who you actually are, doesn't fully develop until your mid-20s, which means your 20s are literally the decade your personality is being finalized. The experiences you have between 20 and 30 shape you in ways that experiences at 35 or 40 simply don't. The friendships you form, the risks you take, the failures you learn from, the relationships that break your heart and teach you what you actually want. Travel at 22 feels different from travel at 35. Not because the places are different, but because you are different. You're more open, more impressionable, more willing to be changed by what you see. Your physical health peaks in your mid to late 20s. Your energy levels, your recovery time, your ability to dance until 3 a.m. and be fine the next morning. None of that comes back. And the cruel irony of FIRE is this: the freedom you're working toward, the ability to travel whenever you want, to spend your days however you choose, You'll have it, but you'll have it at 35, in a body that's slightly less capable, with a social circle that's moved on, with a version of yourself that's been shaped by a decade of saying no instead of yes. That's not an argument against FIRE, it's just an honest accounting of the cost. The FIRE community is full of success stories, and they're real. People who retired at 31 and now spend their days hiking, reading, volunteering, doing exactly what they want. No boss, no schedule, pure freedom. But spend enough time in those communities, and a different conversation starts to emerge. The loneliness nobody warned them about. When you stop working at 32, your friends are still working, still climbing, still talking about promotions and office drama and what they're doing on their 2 weeks of annual leave. Your life has diverged from everyone around you in a way that's hard to bridge. The loss of purpose. Humans aren't built for pure leisure. Study after study shows that people derive enormous amounts of meaning from their work, not from the money, but from the structure, the challenge, the sense of contributing something. When that disappears, some FIRE retirees describe a flatness they weren't expecting. A question that keeps surfacing. Now what? And the identity crisis. For a decade, your entire identity was built around the goal. Saving, investing, optimizing, and then you hit the number and the goal disappears. And you realize you spent 10 years becoming someone whose entire personality was about getting somewhere, without thinking much about what you'd do when you arrived. These aren't failure stories. These are honest ones, and they're worth hearing before you decide. So here's the question I want to leave you with, because I don't think the real choice is between retiring early and living your 20s. I think the real question is a much more uncomfortable one. Are you drawn to FIRE because you genuinely want freedom, or because you hate what you're currently doing so much that you're willing to sacrifice a decade to escape it? Because those are two very different things. If you love freedom, if the idea of owning your time completely genuinely excites you, if you have a clear vision of what you'd do with that freedom, then FIRE might be one of the best decisions you ever make. The maths works, the path is real, and the people who get there with clarity tend to thrive. But if you're running from something, from a job you hate, from a life that doesn't feel like yours, from a future that scares you, then retiring early just moves the problem. You'll get to 35 with all the time in the world, and the same unresolved question you had at 22. The goal was never really retirement. The goal was a life that feels worth living. And that's worth figuring out before you spend 10 years optimizing for the wrong thing. I'm not here to tell you whether FIRE is right for you. Maybe sacrificing your 20s for complete freedom in your 30s is the greatest trade you'll ever make. Maybe living fully in your 20s, even if it means working until 65, is the right choice for the life you actually want. But whatever you choose it consciously. Not out of fear, not out of comparison, not because someone on the internet told you it was the only way. Your life is the only one you get. The question isn't when you retire. The question is, what are you actually living for? Drop a comment. I want to know, would you sacrifice your 20s to retire at 35? Or is that a trade you'd never make? And if this made you think about something differently, subscribe. The next video goes even deeper. I'll see you in the next one.